and maybe at the end of the day, when the build is done, you don't have to come out of pocket so much because of the appreciation. So what you may be missing in that situation, you said those are $300,000 houses. Let's just use that example, right? So you put your placeholder down for whatever, 10 grand. At the end of the day, even if you want to finance it at 80-20, they're going to want $60,000 at the of equity at the build, right? So you're going to place a tenant in there, but let's say that thing has gone from 300 to 330 in the 8 months of that building. That equity that is gained through appreciation during that period of time is money that you're not going to have to put on as a down payment, because you have held that contract for 8 months. And so you're going to get 8 months of that gain. And so in roaring markets like Bend, Oregon, where it's going to go up 10% a year minimum right now, you're going to get that 10%, and it's going to come off of the down payment that you would otherwise have to throw on that house. So you're allowing the house to go to work for you while you don't truly technically own it and have to finance it.
How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. I am here with Sean Ryder again. What's going on, my man?
Not much. I'm trying to respond to a positive Airbnb review because I think it's valuable for hosts to respond to all reviews. And I'm trying to make sure I do not write, we love when people soil themselves at our property. I want to make sure that I write, we love when people spoil themselves at our property, because that's the word that she used. Soil and spoil are two different words, Jeff.
That's important to get correct. You take it public, for sure.
All right, I'm going to wrap that up. I'm going to save that. Fantastic. Jeff, how are you?
Fantastic, man. Couldn't be better. I ran 5 miles yesterday. I've got these new hippie sandals called Earth Runners. And they are like
I can hear them now. I can hear them right now while you're running, slapping against your heel.
No, they don't slap. There's literally nothing to them. It's like a string over my foot and the smallest Vibram sole you've ever seen, and that's all there is to it.
Did everyone hear that? Jeff is wearing a foot thong with a vibrator.
Yes, and and so I'm embracing this earthiness of my new lifestyle. And I ran 5 miles with them yesterday, and I got an exertion headache that almost killed me. I thought it was
How do your feet feel using muscles that normally don't get used?
My feet feel fine. I didn't just get the shoes. I've had them for probably 6 weeks. And I've been wearing them like nonstop. They did take some getting used to, and I felt some stretching in places that I'm not used to, but they're pretty fucking cool, actually.
All right. I haven't heard of them. I'll have to look into them. My phone is next to me, so it heard you say that. So I'm going to start seeing ads on my social media for the company.
20% off today.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, like I said, when I started doing pickleball, I thought I broke my feet. My feet hurt so bad because I was moving in directions and planning hard like I don't do when I'm doing my training. So I can imagine. Kudos to you for adjusting to the shoes over a couple week period before taking them out on a 5-mile run.
We will see. We'll see how it works out.
Fantastic. So talking about your new lifestyle, living in an RV, looking back at a few of our episodes, we talked. I don't want people to think that our main, not our main strategy, but the only strategy that we teach or employ in regards to investing in real estate is the BRRRR method or Airbnbs, because the BRRRR method is how you built your portfolio initially, and Airbnbs is how I built my portfolio initially. But inside of the Tactical Empire Inner Circle, we talk about other strategies to get into real estate investing, what types of asset classes, what types of properties we should be looking at. And it's all dependent on the exact situation that someone finds themselves in. How much time do they have? How much capital do they have? What desire, passion do they have for real estate? Do they want to put more time and effort into their real estate portfolio, or do they want to put less time and effort into their real estate portfolio? Are they willing to take a little bit more pseudo risk by buying a property, hopefully that they can see if there's anything wrong with it ahead of time, or not? And so that plays into one strategy that's been coming up in the group more often lately, and ever since we had our meetup in April in Birmingham, Alabama. Sammy Knight came in, one of our members and coaches, super successful in the real estate game, great entrepreneur, great leader, great overall human being. And he talked about a strategy, and ever since that meetup, that strategy's come up. So Jeff, I'm going to let you lead the way on what that strategy is, why it may be something of interest, and who will it be of interest to. Take it away.
Well, I mean, what you're talking about is buying ground up new build properties to rent, and how do you do that and still make it a successful deal? Because most people think about new builds and they're like, okay, they think of that as their personal residence mostly, right? You don't think of it as something you'd be shopping for as a rental. But I can tell you more and more, we're going out to build a 5-house portfolio right now, ground up in Texas. That's one of the next projects I'm taking on, which is a build to rent portfolio, if you will. We're building 5 houses. We're going to rent them with the intention to rent them for 2 years. And so the thing is, like, going backwards, the principles behind a BRRRR investment, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, which is BRRRR, 4 R's. That the principle behind that, and this is something that's not talked about often, is that you're using other people's money, the bank's money, to take a property that's distressed and then to bring it up to today's standards. But you're also wanting to replace every single thing on it that's mechanical, that could possibly break, that has any issues. So while you're doing those initial repairs, you're using the bank's money to repair every single thing on that property, so that ideally, and this is the part that's left out constantly, ideally you have no capital expenditures from a repair cost standpoint for 4 to 5 years. That's the rule of thumb, is that the home, if all mechanicals are corrected and fixed, you should not have any maintenance issues or repair issues for 4 to 5 years. And then around the year 4 to 5 mark, stuff starts to break. And then you're looking to recycle that home and either sell it retail or sell it to another investor with the intention that they've got some stuff that's going to break, right? Because repair costs and capital expenditures are what eats your profit alive. So that said, going into this model that we're talking about, which is buy new construction to rent with the intention of renting, how do you do it? Most people just don't think it occurs to them. But as long as you can buy the equity on the way in, the discount on the way in, you can go ahead and still have a great deal. Let's say it's a $200,000 property. It's going to ARV, after repair value, when it's built, it will appraise for $200,000. Now, there's opportunities to go in and talk to these builders that are designing master plan communities, that are building any sort of houses, any number of houses. And you can go to them and call them and figure out if they are willing to sell you a house or multiple houses. And you can contract those, pay for them early on, negotiate a sale price on the way in. You should be able to negotiate a discount, because what people don't understand about these builds is that they get their money in tranches, and they need portions of the community sold to continue to draw from the bank with regards to financing. And so if they can go in at the beginning of the property and say, hey, 40% of this subdivision is sold off already, then the bank's very confident that they're going to get paid back. And then that opens up the the funding for the repairs and the build out, and not the repairs, excuse me, the build out and the infrastructure stuff that they have to do. So it's released in different tranches throughout the project. And the more contracts they can get on the homes, the more sales they can get on the homes, the more it unlocks the money for them to keep on going, and they can move faster. And obviously speed matters with these deals as well, because if the deal takes 4 years and there's carrying costs on that debt, a lot of times building loans are interest only. So they're paying interest only for this entire time. Now you think about a builder that could have the whole project done and sold off in 18 months. How much better would it be for him to do that as opposed to having 2 additional years of carrying costs on that project, right? So a lot of times people are willing to do this. And so you can call up a builder and say, hey, I'm interested in 1, 2, 5 properties from this deal. Are you willing to go ahead and sell any of them at a discount if I'm willing to contract multiple properties from you? And so what we talked about in Birmingham was this exact model. And you can go in, you can talk to the builder, you can get a 20% discount. I try to buy all my properties when we're done with everything, going in with a 20% gain. So if I bought a $200,000 property, I would want to have 160 of it of my money, of the bank's money, of lending, whatever, at the end of the property, so that I could capture $40,000 of equity in that deal minimum. Usually my deals have more meat than that because of the way I chose to do them, but that would be the minimum I would want. So if I was going out to do this model, that's what I would do. I would say, hey, I want that $200,000 house for 160. I'll do 3 of them at that price if you'll do 3 of them. And they'll be like, okay, that's fine. And then usually on building, there's a certain amount of money you have to put down at the front end. It's not the 25% or whatever that you're going to do when you finally get the lending. It might only be $5,000 or $10,000 to lock up that property. And then you're going to hold it for the period of time that it takes for the construction to happen. So let's say you put $5,000 down on that house and you negotiated $160,000 purchase price, right? So you got a $200,000 house for $5,000. It takes 8 months to build it, right? A lot of times, especially in today's market, they might finish that project in 8 months and it might be worth $220,000 now. So your $40,000 of equity that you negotiated at the beginning might have turned into $60,000 now. And then what you can do is you can do multiple things. You can hold them and finance it like a regular rental at that point in time. And you can pre-lease it before it's done and say, hey, coming soon. You can move somebody into this property September 1st or whatever, right? So you could have that thing cash flowing the second that you are on the hook for the note. Or let's say if it does go up $20,000 and somebody wants it for $220,000 and you sell it to them for $210,000, then you put $5,000 on it, right? But you sold it for $210,000, you bought it for $160,000, and you're going to make the difference in that period of time. And all you did was hold the paper and put out the $5,000 deposit. And so when you're thinking about buying brand new stuff, if you're a busy entrepreneur, like these are great projects for someone that's too busy to maintain their own like burr project, right? If you go buy from a builder, you're not there every day managing the project. You're not managing the GC. You're not dealing with all these issues as far as like a full-on rehab would be. Now they're doing ground up, but they're also doing 30, 40, 50 houses in this project. Now you could go check on it as periodically to see it's coming along like you wanted to, but there's way less involvement with a new build because they're using all new material. You're coming from the ground up. The bank's checking on everything. There's just a lot happening there from an oversight perspective. And also one thing we didn't speak about is that like these builders have 1-year home warranties. So if you do in fact take on that property September 1st, you put a renter in there, the first 12 months of your expenses, which is when anything should really go wrong for a new build, if there's something wrong with how they put it together or whatever, it's going to be exposed in that first year, and that's covered under your builder's warranty. So one of the years that you're going to own that property, let's say you were going to own it till year 4, when we said things maybe start going wrong, one of your 4 years is covered. 25% of your capital expenditure should be covered under that home warranty that comes from the builder. So this is just a really attractive way for people with good cash flow, good W-2 incomes, good, excuse me, businesses that they need to stay focused on, that want to build a portfolio and also have great relationships in the community. I mean, this is also like a connections thing. If you know a builder, then you could potentially do this every time they go build a subdivision. And those guys are building new subdivisions every 2 years or whatever. They're cycling the projects periodically. And so, and if they don't know someone, you could always ask for a referral for someone that's building right now too. So if you get a hold of a builder, or you know a builder, or your parents do, or somebody in your network does, and they just don't have a project that's available or feasible for you right now, I would just ask for references. Like, do you know anybody that might have something like this? And they're going to be like, yeah, my friend John's got a project that he needs to get to 50% sales on in the next 2 months or something.
Well, Jeff, you answered all my questions. I'm pretty fired up about this strategy. This is like the 4th or 5th time that I've heard us talk about it in detail. First time we're putting it in public, and every time I hear it, it's like, why am I not doing this? Because, you know, the town that I live in is 75 miles west of Washington, D.C. The farmland is slowly getting bought up, and they're putting townhomes and single family residents up. You know, we're looking at like low 300s for some of these houses. But, you know, it takes them 6 to 9 months to put these things up. So what I like about this strategy is if you can get that contract for 5 to 10 grand before they start building, and it's going to take 6 to 9 months in this environment in August of 2024, by the time that home is ready to be closed on, one, you may be looking at lower interest rates. So that plays into your cash flow if you're going to hold it long term. 2, if interest rates come down and so the home appreciates, you can also just assign that contract and sell it without even having to technically own the house any more than an hour or two when you sign and transfer that paper. So I really like this strategy. I think it's a strategy that I personally should be looking into locally. Next time I drive by that neighborhood, I'm going to get the phone number on the big sign outside of it. So I think this is perfect for the person that you described. This is perfect for someone that already has something that is their main thing. Maybe they've been a really good steward of money and they're sitting on capital. I mean, imagine if you could get these houses for these contracts for 5 to 10 grand and you're sitting on $100,000. Hopefully not in a bank account, hopefully in a high early cash value life insurance policy. But that money's been sitting there. It hasn't really been growing in the bank, hasn't been keeping up with anything. So to acquire that asset, potentially put in a renter for the next 1 to 3 years while you have that builder's warranty, and while something probably isn't going to go wrong after that first year for another year or two, I think you're setting yourself up really nicely. I've always wanted to live in new homes because of that reason. I never thought of investing in new homes for those 2 reasons. Now with my Airbnbs, it makes sense. I bought brand new and I bought fully renovated because I didn't want to deal with potential issues. And the one short-term rental we sold, it was because I felt it was getting ready to hit the mark with needing some upgrades, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I'm going to have to bite the bullet and deal with some upgrades at my real estate properties at some point. But I love this strategy. Hopefully it helps someone. Is there anything you want to add for that strategy in particular? I wanted to let the people know that we're not one-trick ponies here. We know of a variety of real estate strategies.
The other people that it works good for, and we have a lot of people like this that live in affluent areas where they think they're priced out of the marketplace. This is a good way to get in. Even let's say, like, let's use Bend, Oregon as one, because we've got some people in Bend, Oregon, and they talk about the value of the properties. They're $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 homes, right? They're expensive. and there's a lot of people that probably listen to this show that are in expensive real estate metros. This is one way that you can actually get into these properties. And maybe at the end of the day, when the build is done, you don't have to come out of pocket so much because of the appreciation. So what you may be missing on that situation, you said those are $300,000 houses. Let's just use that example, right? So you put your placeholder down for whatever, 10 grand. At the end of the day, even if you want to finance it at 80-20, they're going to want $60,000 of equity at the build, right? So you're going to place a tenant in there, but let's say that thing has gone from 300 to 330 in the 8 months of that building. That equity that is gained through appreciation during that period of time is money that you're not going to have to put on as a down payment, because you have held that contract for 8 months. And so you're going to get 8 months of that gain. And so in roaring markets like Bend, Oregon, where it's going to go up 10% a year minimum right now, you're going to get that 10%, and it's going to come off of the down payment that you would otherwise have to throw on that house. So you're allowing the house to go to work for you while you don't truly technically own it and have to finance it.
Boom. Love it. Slightly mind-blowing. I love it. I definitely want to see this strategy utilized in the group by some of the guys in the group. If you listen to this and you got value, let us know. Jeff, send the people out.
Guys, check us out on YouTube, the Tactical Empire Podcast. Like and subscribe. Give us a listen over on Apple and everywhere else the podcasts are as well. If you have any questions coming to the Tactical Empire community on Facebook, you can post any questions out there. We're happy to support, or send Sean and I a direct message. Have a kick-ass week. Keep making progress. Thank you for listening.